I'm an American who's been traveling the world and living abroad for almost 2 years, and in that time I have experienced a great deal of culture shock. That said, in this video, I will be reacting to other Americans as they experience culture shocks while traveling the world and living abroad themselves. So without further ado, let's get into this first video.
The single biggest culture shock that I experienced when I moved to France, it wasn't the language or the smoking or the customer service. It was the fact that French people cannot handle spicy food, and that means that finding actual spicy food was incredibly difficult. For some context, I am the kind of person who eats spicy food every single day. If I go to a Thai restaurant, I always get Thai spicy. And I moved to France, and I, for the first time in my life, meet people who think black pepper is spicy. The first time this happened is such a clear memory for me. I went to this bar with my friend and she was like, oh, just order something for the table, get whatever you want. And I ordered these black pepper, like dry salami. And she was like, I can't eat that. It's way too spicy. And she even tried a small bite and she had tears welling up in her eyes and could not eat it. And as somebody who eats a lot of spicy food, I was going through withdrawals. I started having dreams about finding spicy food and eating it. And after several months and having resorted to like dumping cayenne pepper on my food because it was the only thing at the grocery store that I could find that was moderately spicy. I remember it like it was yesterday. There was this TV commercial that comes on and it was for this new spicy McDonald's burger. And in the commercial, the people are taking a bite and flames are shooting out of their mouth. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to try this. There's flames. It's gotta be spicy. It was not. It was not spicy. I really thought they gave me the wrong burger. Meanwhile, my French friends who are trying it next to me have tears streaming down their face. So this is your warning. If you love spicy food and you go to France, pack as much of it with you as you can.
Okay, so that's a funny one right there because, look, I'm not here to invalidate her experience. Obviously, she has much more experience with France than I do. Granted, I did live in the Netherlands for 14 months. In the Netherlands, France, pretty much anywhere in Western Europe and maybe even Eastern Europe as well, Americans feel like there isn't much spicy food available. And in my experience, that's just not true. Now, again, I don't know if maybe the situation in France is different, but the reason why I don't think that's necessarily true is because while it is true that continental European cuisine probably isn't very spicy in most of those countries. I don't know, maybe there's some obscure dish in Slovakia or something like that that's pretty spicy, but at least in the places that I've been to, spicy food is not part of the traditional cuisine. There are also immigrants. And the immigrants do have spicy food. And the reason why I know this is because my girlfriend, who was born and raised in the Netherlands, has a higher spice tolerance than I do. And I was born and raised in the US. And I did grow up eating my fair share of spicy food. The reason why she has a higher tolerance for spicy food is because not only did she grow up eating Dutch food, but she also ate Surinamese food and Indonesian food. And every European country that I'm aware of, at least, has a diaspora of people who come from a place where spicy food is a prominent and prevalent part of their cultural cuisines. And I think maybe part of this discrepancy is because in the US, the two largest diasporas are Mexicans and Indians. And we know that Mexicans and Indians favor spicy food quite a bit. So it does make sense that your average American may have a slightly higher spice tolerance than your average European. But at the same time, again, if you know where to look and what to look for, you should be able to find some spicy food, especially in France. I mean, come on, France is literally one of the capitals of cuisine in the world. Granted, it's not necessarily known for spicy food, but I digress. You should be able to find spicy food somewhere in France and pretty much anywhere in, again, continental Europe. It may not be the cuisine of that country that you're in, but it will be something that will satisfy your desire for spicy food. And perhaps, again, there are actually some continental traditional cuisines that are very spicy by worldly standards, not just European standards. And if that's the case, let me know in the comments so I can find a vegan version of it and try it the next time I'm in Europe. Also, let me know what your personal tolerance for spicy food is, and if you feel like maybe she's exaggerating a little bit. On to the next video. So I spent all of 22 hours in Switzerland when I visited Spain back in 2023. I had a layover in Switzerland on the way back to the US. I don't really recall encountering those outlets. I don't know if maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but those outlets are definitely not something I personally encountered. They for sure didn't have them in the Netherlands when I was there, nor did they have them in Spain or pretty much anywhere else I've been to. So maybe that's just a region-specific thing within Switzerland. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you know more about that. But as far as the shops being closed on Sundays, this is one of the most fascinating things to me because I feel like in a lot of European countries that's the case, but in the Netherlands that was definitely not the case. So, and mind you, I wasn't in Amsterdam or Rotterdam or any of the larger cities. I was exclusively in suburbs and even small towns, and I was still able to go to the grocery stores on Sundays. So, I don't really know if the Netherlands is an outlier in that regard or what. I know this is about Switzerland, obviously, but I have experience with the Netherlands. But if that's the case, why is the Netherlands an outlier in that regard? I mean, I'm not complaining because we did a fair amount of grocery shopping on Sundays. But something that I find really interesting is this notion that Sundays are for spending time with family, therefore you should close the stores. But I feel like restaurants in those kinds of places still tend to be open. But I could be completely wrong about that because, again, I spent most of my time in the Netherlands where the stores are still open on Sundays. So maybe they do close the restaurants and movie theaters and all of that. Let me know in the comments. On to the next video.
Okay, so this is my second video. It's a remake of my culture shocks as an American living in the UK. Yeah. I'm trying to talk quietly because I don't know how much my flatmates can hear. Anyways, the first one is that cars can park in any direction, like on the side of the road when they're parallel parked. Like in the US, you have to park the direction of traffic or you're gonna get a ticket. Like literally here, the cars will be like facing each other, like they look like they're like kissing each other or like back to back, and it's just like so odd. And also, they park on the sidewalks, which kind of makes sense because the streets here are so small, but like there are places in the US where like they do that, but for the most part, like you cannot do that. Your car will get towed. Second or third, I guess, I don't know. Groceries are really cheap. Yeah, I don't know. I can get like a week's worth of groceries for like my like $30, like 25 pounds ish, give or take. That's at Aldi because on my other video people were like, where the fuck are you getting these? It's at Aldi. No, I do not go to a dining hall or whatever because I know someone mentioned that I only eat at my flat. Like I make my own food. Like yes, we go out like maybe twice a week or like 3 times a week. But besides that, like I'm eating my groceries as my meal. Okay, obviously the cars drive on the left, which like obviously I fucking knew that, like it wasn't a shock, but I just didn't realize how much it was gonna affect me being here. So yeah, I don't know, I think it's really like obviously when I'm starting to cross the street my brain is like, okay, look left, but like no, you gotta look right first and then left, and so it's just like I don't know. Next is the ingredient list and things. Also, my friend was saying how she doesn't like the soda here because it has less sugar in it. And there's also like no corn syrup or whatever. And so it just doesn't taste as sweet as like the sodas that we're used to back home. And so that's just like interesting or whatever. Like, to me, it tastes watered down, but like, I don't know. This one, there's switches on every single outlet, which like, it's just like weird, I guess. Including for the microwave and for the oven and like the stove and stuff, which I found out from the comments in my last video that you don't have to turn those off when you're done cooking. Me and my flatmates have been turning them off every single time. Apparently you don't have to do that, so I don't. This one's a quick one, but like the first floor is not the first floor. It's the ground floor and then the first floor and then which like I feel like I have no argument to why like that doesn't make sense, but also I feel like having the first floor as the ground floor also makes sense to me. Like, they're just different, but it's just something I'm not used to. Next is showing ID to buy scissors and ibuprofen. It's funny because like we would not get ID'd for like buying vapes or like cigarettes or like alcohol or whatever, but ibuprofen, yeah. Scissors, yeah. I just think that's so funny because like there's some medicine that you get ID'd for, and I cut myself off in the US, but like that's not common. Next is seminars. There are places in the US where like the university will have seminars, but like that's really not common. I had never done a seminar until I came here, and even then the seminars are different. Like here, the like, okay, they're not called professors apparently. Whoever's leading the seminar like doesn't give a fuck if you speak or not. I mean, like obviously they care, they want you to speak, but like back home if you're doing a seminar, if you don't speak, you just failed the seminar. Like, next thing that I found out after my last video that I posted in the comments is not every lecturer is a professor, which I didn't know that. Basically, like back home, all of our classes have one professor and they're also the lecturers for every week. Like occasionally they'll bring in like an outside lecturer, but like for the most part, like that's kind of uncommon, but like it's mostly just the one professor leading everything. Like, and if they decide to do a seminar, it would be them leading that and like everything. So we usually like any like adult at the university, like we call professors, like any like teachers or lecturers or whatever, like we all call them professors. Also, that's kind of the same thing, like having different like lectures and like people leading the seminar or whatever, like every week or whatever, or every couple weeks is really weird, because like I said, like I'm used to one professor and that's it for the entire semester. Like it never switches off. Also, substitute like I'm gonna say professors, like substitute professors, like because back home, like if your professor was sick or something, they would just cancel class. They're like, okay, we're not going to class. But like this year I had a class and our lecturer was like, oh yeah, I'm just filling in for your professor because he's sick right now or whatever. I'm like, that's just like, I don't know. Also, people said that I said like a lot on my last video, and now I'm like so conscious about it. I know I say it a lot, everyone does, but I know specifically I say it more than the average person, and it's a problem. I don't know. Okay, next thing is lights turning yellow before they turn green, so they'll go like red, yellow, green, green, yellow, red. That's just like interesting, but I kind of like it. It's convenient. Okay, one of the last ones. Paying for public bathrooms, especially that you need coins, because I'm like, I don't have fucking coins with me, like what? Again, like it does make sense, but it's just like I'm just not used to that, so I think that's pretty much it. So yeah.
Substitute professors. That's something that I never encountered in the US. Now mind you, I'm a college dropout. I only attended, I think, a semester and a half of community college, so I'm not really qualified to speak on all the other points about her experience with university in the US compared to the UK. What I can comment on are, first of all, the public restrooms charging money. Now, I kind of came to accept that very quickly in the Netherlands because I realized that, well, you get what you pay for. Sure, you have to pay, I think it was 75 cents when I first got there, then they raised it up to 90 cents, gotta love inflation. But for that, you're getting relatively private stalls. You don't have these big stall gaps like in the US. And then you have someone literally cleaning the bathroom and restocking the toilet paper and all of that every 10 or 20 minutes. So you never have to worry about being in the stall and you run out of toilet paper or anything like that. But one thing that really stood out to me about that is she said they have to pay with coins in the UK. I'm not gonna lie, that would probably piss me off, because when you have to pee and you really have to go, you want as little friction as possible in that process. So in the Netherlands, at least at the train stations with the public restrooms there, you just put your debit card on the little scanner, hold it for around 3 or 5 seconds, and then it'll open up the little turnstile thing and you go through, do your business. But having to carry coins, I can see that being a pretty big inconvenience at times. But something else that stood out to me in her whole monologue there was having to use your ID to get scissors. That's something I've never heard of before. I've never heard of that being the case in any country, really. So I don't know if that's a UK specific thing or if that's common around Europe. I'm inclined to believe that's a UK specific thing. That sounds like the kind of thing that would be UK specific, because I never bought a pair of scissors in Europe, but I feel like if I had to buy a pair of scissors there, I would not have needed my ID. But I mean, maybe it's for precautionary measures, or if you're going to use the scissors to harm people. I don't know. If you know more about that, then let me know in the comments below. But something else that she pointed out that stuck out to me was how they park on both sides of the street. Now, that was a big culture shock that I had in the Netherlands as well, was seeing that it literally didn't matter what side of the street you parked on, provided that it was a road that didn't have a median in between. So a two-way street, you could park on either side. That wouldn't work in the US, for one, because the traffic speeds tend to be a lot faster, but also because the roads tend to be a lot wider. So it would literally be a complete safety hazard to do that, and it would cause all kinds of chaos. But in the Netherlands, and evidently in the UK, it does kind of make sense, because the roads are so small that, let's say for example in the Netherlands, they had these streets that I literally had never seen before, where it looks like a one-way road. You have a one-way road with a suggested bike lane on both sides. If you're Dutch, you know exactly what I'm talking about right now. You have what looks like a one-way road, but it's actually a two-way road. And it looks like a one-way road because there's no line in the middle of the street. Instead, you essentially ride halfway in the bike path, and the other person coming from the other direction does the same thing, and that's how you both fit. So on those types of roads, the road is so small that it's the size of a one-way road in the US. So again, it makes sense in that context. But something else that she mentioned was the lights turning yellow before they turn green again. I don't remember seeing that in the UK. I did visit London for a little over a day. I don't remember that being the case at all. But one thing that I have noticed as I've traveled more and more here in Vietnam, in Thailand, and I want to say this was also the case in the Netherlands, though I could be mistaken. Let me know if I'm wrong about this. At least here in Southeast Asia, they have a literal countdown timer on the traffic lights, and that blew my mind. That completely blew my mind, because we don't have anything like that anywhere in the US that I've been, and I've been across pretty much the whole entire country.